Some cases haunt you, not because of what you find, but because of what was hiding in plain sight all along. This tragic event happened on March 15th, 2023 in Meadowbrook, a quiet suburb where nothing ever happens. I got the call just before dawn. 2 children found dead, 47 Maple Drive, the Thornton House. I remember pulling up to that white picket fence, those trimmed hedges, and thinking, this looks like every other house on this block. But inside, a nightmare waited. Emma Thornton was 8 years old. Lucas Thornton was 6. They were found in their shared bedroom, tucked into their beds like they were just sleeping. But they weren't sleeping. The first responders knew it immediately. Something was very wrong. There were no signs of forced entry, no broken windows, no kicked-in doors. The house was locked from the inside. Nothing appeared disturbed. Nothing was stolen. And there didn't seem to have been any struggle. And that's when they found her, Rebecca Thornton, 34, the mother. She was unconscious in the master bedroom, barely breathing. They rushed her to the hospital. That's where our investigation really began. Because when Rebecca woke up, she had a story to tell. She cried hysterically as she said someone came into her house, killed her babies, almost killed her, and begged that we find them. Rebecca was hysterical, devastated. She claimed she couldn't remember anything after tucking the kids in around 8 p.m. She said she'd made them hot chocolate, their nightly routine. She'd had some too. And then, nothing. Blank. The medical examiner's report came back 3 days later. Antifreeze poisoning. The children had ingested lethal doses. Rebecca? She'd had it in her system too, but not nearly enough to kill her. Just enough to make her sick. So the question became, who would want to kill 2 innocent children and their mother? And why and how did the mother survive? In any case like this, you start with the people closest to the victims. And that meant David Thornton, the father. David and Rebecca were in the middle of a nasty divorce. He'd moved out 3 months before the murders, and the custody battle? Vicious. Doesn't even begin to cover it. David stood to lose everything. Full custody was likely going to Rebecca. His lawyer said he was desperate. David had no alibi for the night of the murders. He claimed he was home alone the night his children died. He said he was asleep, but there was no one to verify it. When we searched his new place, we found something interesting in his garage. Antifreeze. The same brand used to poison his children. David's story was that he used it for his car, that it was normal to have, and his fingerprints on the back door of the family house? He said that was from picking up the kids the previous week. Maybe, but he also failed his polygraph. David Thornton looked good for this. Motive, means, opportunity. We brought him in for questioning multiple times. His lawyer was nervous. The press was circling. But something didn't quite fit. And that's when another name came up. Linda Morrison, Rebecca's younger sister. The two hadn't spoken in over a year, and the reason? Linda had been having an affair with David, Rebecca's husband, before the separation even happened. Rebecca found out. The betrayal destroyed what was left of their relationship. Linda lived 20 minutes from the Thornton house, and here's where it gets interesting. Security footage from a gas station 2 blocks away showed Linda's car in the neighborhood the night of the murders at 11:47 p.m. When we brought Linda in, she was defensive. She said she wasn't anywhere near the house that night, but she was. She finally admitted she'd been driving around, thinking. About what? She wouldn't say. Then we found the life insurance policies. Both Emma and Lucas had $250,000 policies. And if Rebecca died too, the money went to Linda as the contingent beneficiary. Linda had motive. She had opportunity, and her phone record showed she'd called Rebecca's house at 11 p.m. that night. No answer. We were building a case, but then a third suspect emerged, and everything got complicated. Marcus Webb, age 52, lived 2 doors down from the Thorntons, and he had a record, a registered sex offender who'd served 8 years for assault. Parents in the neighborhood had been trying to get him to move for months. Leading the charge? Rebecca Thornton. Rebecca had organized petitions, called city council meetings, even confronted Marcus directly. The day before the murders, neighbors reported a heated argument between them in Rebecca's driveway. Marcus had been seen watching the Thornton House multiple times, sitting on his porch, standing by his fence, always looking. And when we searched his property, we found traces of antifreeze on his work boots. He was a mechanic. He said it was from the shop. Marcus Webb had no alibi. He had motive, revenge against Rebecca, and he had the means. Now we had 3 suspects with 3 different motives. The evidence kept pointing in different directions, and the press was having a field day. Everyone wanted answers. Everyone wanted justice for Emma and Lucas. But I kept coming back to one thing that bothered me, something that didn't fit. Rebecca Thornton, the grieving mother. She was everywhere. On the local news, begging for justice. Had vigils collapsing with grief. She started a foundation in her children's names. The public loved her. The tragic survivor. I watched her at the funeral, the way she sobbed over those small caskets, the way she clutched photos of Emma and Lucas. It felt real. It looked real. But something was nagging at me. The timeline. Rebecca said she made hot chocolate for all 3 of them around 8 p.m., their nightly routine. But the medical examiner's report put the children's time of death between 9 and 10 p.m. Rebecca wasn't found until 7 a.m. the next morning. If she'd drunk the poisoned hot chocolate at 8 p.m., the same time as the kids, why did she survive? Why was she only mildly sick while they died? I went back to the crime scene photos. 3 mugs. The children's mugs were empty, completely drained. But Rebecca's mug? Still half full, sitting on her nightstand. I started asking questions, uncomfortable questions. And that's when I started digging into Rebecca's life, the life no one else was looking at. Rebecca Thornton was drowning, credit cards maxed out, mortgage 3 months behind. The divorce meant she'd lose the house, lose her lifestyle. David wasn't going to give her anything more than what the court ordered. But there was one way out, one solution to all her problems. Those life insurance policies on Emma and Lucas, $250,000 each. Rebecca was the sole beneficiary, $500,000. Enough to start over. Enough to make all her problems disappear. I requested her laptop. Our tech team found something she'd tried to delete. Search history from 2 weeks before the murders. How much antifreeze is lethal? Symptoms of antifreeze poisoning. How long does antifreeze poisoning take to work? And then I brought Linda back in. This time, I had leverage. This time, I told her she was going down as an accomplice, unless she told me the truth. That's when she broke. She said Rebecca called her that night. She was panicking and said she made a mistake. She said she gave the kids too much and that she didn't think it would work that fast. She wanted Linda's help to stage it like a break-in, but she claims she refused and that she wanted nothing to do with it. And just like that, it all made sense. Rebecca Thornton had planned this for weeks. She'd planted the antifreeze in David's garage during a custody exchange, making sure he'd look guilty. She'd counted on Linda's car being spotted in the neighborhood, making sure she'd look suspicious. And Marcus Webb? Rebecca had filed a false police report about him weeks before, claiming he'd acted strangely around her children. She knew he'd be an easy target. She'd created suspects. Insurance. The night of March 15th, Rebecca made hot chocolate for Emma and Lucas. She put antifreeze in their cups, lethal doses. She watched them drink every drop, and then she tucked them into bed. She took a small amount herself, just enough to make herself sick, just enough to sell the story. And then she waited for her children to die. Hours later, when she was sure they were gone, she called 911, the perfect victim. We arrested Rebecca Thornton on April 3rd. When we laid out the evidence, the searches, Linda's statement, the timeline, the mug, she didn't cry. She didn't break down. She just stared at me cold. During her interrogation, she said, "The children were ruining her life. Emma was always sick. Lucas had behavioral problems. David was going to take them and leave her with nothing. She said she gave them everything, and she got nothing in return, that she was exhausted and felt suffocated." Rebecca Thornton was convicted on 2 counts of first-degree murder, life without parole. The trial revealed she'd been researching how to kill her children for over a month. David Thornton was cleared. Linda Morrison cooperated and wasn't charged. Marcus Webb moved away shortly after. The case of Emma and Lucas Thornton closed. But Emma and Lucas, they're still gone. 2 children who trusted the one person who was supposed to protect them most. If you're still here, you're one of the curious ones. Stick around. The next mystery's already waiting.